Hello everyone. So we started our topic staffing and completed the various topics under that. We learned about the basics or concepts of staffing, as well as we also learned that importance of staffing too. We learned that staffing is a part of HRM, as in how you can treat staffing being a part of HRM, human resource management. Now moving further, it's required, there is a various question asked by a student. Sir, before going further, will you please tell me that how the evolution, how the HRM begins in the organization, as well as from where it can came into the organization, why we got the evolved into the HRM concept, as in why it is required or why it getting so important in our organization to obtain the HRM into the organization. So this talks about that why you required HRM in a various aspect, as well as I must say that why it is required an organization to hire a person who can deal with your HR department, or who can be a manager of your company, or who can be organizing the team of HR, as in complete recruitment training, something like that. Why it all requires? Because whenever we talk about the organization level, whenever the organization is going to be expanded, as in it going to be a functional system like top level, middle level and lower level management, then it requires the various staff, various employees, that how many kind of work you can do, as well as it creates a difficulty in between each and every person to manage each and every thing, each and every minimum thing. Like suppose there is a structure of like directors in place of top level management, and then production department, marketing department, finance department. They have their separate head, which is talked about as middle level management. Now in further, production department requires 3 kind of employees, marketing department requires 2 kind of employees, finance department requires 4 kind of employees. It talks about the lower level management. Now what will happen in the organization? This structure is going to be expanded in the organization, as in this chain is expanded. There are a lot of various departments are going to be extended, as well as there are so many employees are already entered into the organization. Your business is going to expand, as well as their subordinates also going to expand, as in this particular employee is hiring 3 employees under him, they are hiring 2 employees under their assistant. So it is required by the company to manage each and every person, each and every chain of persons who is going to do the work. Like if I am talking about the MNCs, there are lot of person who is going to deal with the post of managers only. There are lot of persons who are going to be the directors of the company. Apart from the managers, there are so many employees, so many trainees, or so many working staff is working under that particular manager. So it's required by the company to manage each and every person, each and every human resources into the management, as in which person should be hired, how much amount should be paid, what amount of compensation is required, as well as we require some sort of manager, some sort of person who can think about this all kind of work. That's how the importance of the evaluation of HRM has been begin into the organization, as in whenever you require to grow your organization, suppose you are going to deal with 10 employees, now you hire the 11th one to manage these 10 employees, to supervise these 10 employees, and you are completely free and you are doing some other task. Thereafter that particular 10 employees also requires a number of employees too, as in suppose it can be expanded to 15 or 20 employees, you got hired some another manager to supervise them, that particular new employees. So in this kind of manner the concept of HRM is going to be grow. Clear? So with the introduction of factory system, thousands of persons begin to be employed under one roof. As in case of single roof, single company, there are so many employees or so many working staff are going to do the work for in the same place at of the organization. So it's required to manage each and every person, each and every employees at your organization. Job of hiring people for the organization was given to one man. Generally, initially, in case of companies or in case of any form of business organization, the person who is going to hire the employees is generally given to one person. But whenever your business is going to be expanded, that particular person becomes to the whole department, becomes to the committee of your organization, who later on was assigned the responsibility of the recruitment, selection and placement of personnel. As in, whoever is going to hire that person is required to recruit them, required to train them, required to select them, as well as give them the work profile, job profile, or ask them to do the work or check their productivity, check their efficiency. It's all, these all complete tasks belongs with the HR manager. This led to the emergence of personal officer in the first place and the personal manager later on. That's why it evaluates with, it is generally requires the personal officer, as in you are kind of officer or supervisor on that particular kind of employees. But later on you became the manager who is going to manage in each and every department, each and every organization, personals, as well as you are required to check about whether each and every employee, in short, let's talk about, like in case of HR manager, he is required to think about like whether his employees are satisfied with the job, employees are satisfied with their job or not. HR personnel is also required, or an officer is also required, whether employees are feeling motivated or not for the work, as well as he also requires to check about that employees are properly trained or properly educated or not. Properly trained or qualified for suitable work or not. HR is also required to set salary or remuneration or compensation or incentive plans for his employees or staff or team members. He is also required to check whether any new employees are required to hired or vacancy for any job. Vacancy for any job or not, or to remove any employee, to retain any employee. So these are the various questions asked about a person, that a manager or a director requires a person who is going to deal with all these kind of stuff. He don't requires to waste his time or utilizes his time to manage this kind of stuff. That's why it evolves or it takes the birth of HRM. As in, a human resource manager is needed to be required, that who can manage all these kind of stuffs. Increase in scope of the work led to the replacement of personnel manager with the HR manager. Whenever your work profile is going to be performed or increased, then initially you are talking about the personnel manager, manager of the company, and later on whenever your department grows, your manager is going to be deal with the HR manager. He is going to deal with the completely details or completely work profile of HR. So it is the growth of personal manager to the HR manager, that your task is only to supervise them or to select them, to recruit them, to give them training and development. You are not required to do any other task. We know that staffing is an inherent part of human resource management, as it's a practice of finding, evaluating and establishing a working relationship with the people for a purpose. Why staffing is an inherent part of HRM? Because it creates that you are required to develop personal skills with your teammates, communication skills with the teammate, as well as you require to deal with delegation of work. You are required to understand the delegation of work, as well as you are going to learn about what person can be done, which kind of work, who is the best person for this job. You are going to deal with all these kind of activities. Staffing is referred to as both a line as well as, please mark this thing because this is very important, which came in exam by their statement 2. As well as in case of evaluation of HRM, you need to write this thing. Mandatorily you need to require this particular thing. What's that? Staffing is referred to as both a line as well as a staff activity. That is how it is a line and a staff activity in case of organization, because in case of essential function of manager, because as a line it is an essential function of manager to select, to recruit or train their employees, but it is also an advisory role played by the HR department. How it is advisory role? Because HR department talks about which person is going to be hired and which is not going to be hired, as well as what sufficient amount of salary should be given, what kind of work profile should be given to them. So that kind of advice is also given by HR department. Initially they are creating the line, as in they are creating the chain between the management, as in they are giving them selection, training, recruitment procedures, promotional skills. Later on this department also advises that this particular person is need to be promoted, this is not to be promoted, this particular person got the hike in the salary as compared to 15%, other is going to 10%. So these are some consultancies or advices that to be given by HR department to company. Clear? So this is all about the evaluation of HRM. Now in our next class we begin with our new topic, and that is staffing process. As in, sir, how we can follow the process of staffing, what are the points we require, or whenever we going to select a person, what are the various steps we are going to observe. So these all kind of questions can be discussed in our next class. Till then, thank you.